A very good evening, everybody. Nice to have your company wherever you're tuning in all around the world, be it via the SimShed broadcasting page or the Real Sim Racing Australasia Facebook pages, and of course our YouTube pages as well. Welcome to round 2 of the NTS V8 SuperSeries, the Goodyear Auto Care Barber 150, proudly presented by our friends at Goodyear Auto Care Rarana, of course. Barber Motorsport Park, the venue. So we've moved a little bit east of where we were last week. From Long Beach in California. We stay in America, however. We go to one of the real favourites amongst the drivers. Barber Motorsports Park, the venue. What a round this should be. 150 kilometres ahead of us here, and it should be a hell of a lot of fun. Sim time, 12:30 in the afternoon, so we're a little bit into the future North American time. 23 mostly cloudy, 29 on track. There, the weather conditions for you at the moment. It's beautiful as you join us in the closing stages of qualifying here. The wind, easterly, 12 kilometres an hour. Qualifying will be 40 minutes in length, of course, tonight. It always is. Pace car speed, 80 k's an hour. Pit lane speed, 72 kilometres an hour. Incident count penalties, 17x, and then every 9x after that. And then, of course, the fast repair limit is 0, which was a big talking point last week, of course. 3.83 kilometres, 16 turns the circuit, and a field of over 35 in attendance for this round of the series. Fuel limit, 45%, so it will be a 2-stop race for these cars. And there'll be just 2 sets of tyres available to them, so that means they've got to choose either the first pit stop or the second pit stop where they take tyres. I'd normally be welcoming Chris Kisby into the commentary box at this point in time, but he's not with us this evening. JP is going to chime in with some comments throughout the course of the evening. Looking forward to having him on board. And, of course, looking forward to having your interaction at home via social media as well. I know a few of my friends down there in Newcastle will be tuning in because one of our good mates in Tom Heyman is back on the grid after missing the opening round of the series. It's quite interesting when you look at the fact that we have 37 cars lining up on the grid tonight. That includes Heyman, who wasn't here last week. So this field just continues to balloon, which is a really good sign of where the series is headed going forward. We're looking forward to what will be a massive night of entertainment. If it's anything like what we saw last week, of course, we're in for something special. We'll have a look at the championship points for you in just a moment. Tom Heyman on top of qualifying at this point in time. That's not the reason I mentioned him right off the top of the broadcast, by the way. But incidentally, it just worked out that way, coincidentally. Tommy Heyman on top, 123.2402. Lassif Leonage, 123.297. And Rainer Costello, 123.337. Cameron Veacock, Cameron Jones, Bradley Vaughan, and Sean McNamara. The top 7 in qualifying at the moment with Michael Imasuria, Robert Crisdale, and Alex Court rounding out the top 10. They're the championship points after one round. Cameron Jones upstaged the competition last week, was too good for them at Long Beach, California, and he won by, well, a comfortable margin. It was a very convincing win from him. Rainer Costello, Craig Schultz, Jacob Brewer, Alan Dawson, Cameron Veacock, Lindsay Hobbs, Mitch Campbell, Lassif Leonage, and Nat Davies round out the top 10, or Davis, I should say, round out the top 10 in the championship at this point in time. Over the page, Tim Mulford, Brian Cooper, Peter Crossingham, Simon Chadwick, Christopher Ireland, Blake Urquhart, Ash Davis, then Ben Morris, David Kirby, and Robert Crisdale make up the top 20. Too early to read anything into that much, really, I say. But in saying that, it could just be the Long Beach round that proves to be a critical point of the championship. Could be that we go back and look at Long Beach and how everyone fared when we look at the overall results at the end of the season here. Great to have you with us wherever you're tuning in. We're riding on board with Lassif Leonage at the moment. We might have Matt Davis coming in to take us for a lap at Barber in just a moment, but if not, this will suffice. Have a listen to the sounds of the Holden at work here as we go for a lap with Lassif Leonage and crank up the volume. Have you with us wherever you're tuning in, folks. Lasse Vlinage, just as we go for a lap with him, comes into the pit lane. But thankfully, the bloke that we are going to get to take us for a lap of this magnificent Barber Motorsports Park layout in Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama more specifically, is Matt Davis. He's in the lane, he's in the booth for us as well. Good evening, mate. Nice to have you aboard.
Thanks for having me, mate. How are you?
Very well. Talk us through Barber Motorsports Park, a vastly different circuit to what we had last week in Long Beach.
Oh, mate, it is. It's vastly different on so many levels. You've got the undulations, so many elevation changes. There's curved braking zones, curved acceleration zones. The car doesn't like the curves. You've got to take it in some instances. Mate, it's just an extremely challenging track. So, and it's even harder, as you're probably going to about to see on stream. It's very hard to get some clear track on board and stay out of the way on your outlap.
Exactly. You're on an outlap at the moment. We're watching you on screen. We'll take an onboard shot here and get you to talk us through the circuit. Of course, we should point out, as far as qualifying is concerned, you're sitting outside the top 10 at the moment, down there in 18th. But mid-pack, is that a concern for you going into a 40-lap race, or are you confident of being able to move forward from there?
Look, last week I started second last in pit lane out at Long Beach, and I made myself all the way up to 10th position. So I'm in higher hopes from last week, but not where I want to be all the way down in 18th. I would have loved to have been a bit closer to the 10, if not inside the 10. But I mean, who's to say? I've got a little bit of clear track in front of me. Who's to say I don't pop myself up into the top 10 now?
Let's hope so, mate. Let's see what you can do in the closing laps of qualifying, and it'll be even more impressive if you can slot yourself over to the top 10 whilst talking us through a lap of this circuit, because it is fairly challenging in its own right, but it's so rewarding at the same time. Let's go for a lap with you right now. I'll let you do all the talking.
Beautiful, mate. Thank you. Right, guys, third gear, last corner. Ease the power on, right out onto the apron, up the main straight, all the way into sixth gear. Off camber corner here in the braking zone, back down into fourth gear, trail that brake right through, right out to the edge, squeeze to the throttle a little bit, not all the way full before you come around the carousel in third. Squeeze the power on mid corner, come out, flat to the board, out to the apron, up over the hill, fifth gear. Really excites the rear tyre over that, it does. Hard on the brakes, sixth gear, all the way down into second, triple apex this. Bring it out wide, into third gear, try not to light the rears up, over the bumps, all the way up into sixth gear. Now the tricky section. Quick dab of the brakes, right into the corner, jump the curb, back down into second. I bring it out wide here just to get the run onto the straight here. Quick lift of the throttle, dab of the brake, use the curb just to turn it in. Try not to go too wide and touch the grass, otherwise that's race over. Up into sixth gear, trail the brake right up through to that curb. A little bit of brake just to get the car turned in. Fourth gear, up over the crest. Don't get the car too happy, it will spin out on you. Now into the very big curved braking zone. From fourth, fifth, third, second, quick pick up third. Back round to the last corner, turn it in. Hard on the power, out on the apron. Up through the gears again and across the start-finish line.
Let's see what he can punch out while he's been talking us through the lap. Unfortunately, he's been relegated to 19th in amongst all of that, but a 23.23, not bad considering his PB for the session is a 24.09. Matt, we appreciate that, mate. Nicely done.
Thanks for that, Zach, and good luck in the commentating tonight, mate. I reckon it's going to be a handful.
I think so too. Good on you, mate. Thank you.
Cheers.
We've only got about 27 seconds of qualifying to go here. And Matt has one last opportunity to try and improve his position. So we'll see if he can do that. But I think he might have just eased off the throttle there. We'll wait and see when he comes back around. But nevertheless, checker flag's about to fly here. The end of qualifying for round 2 of the NTS V8 SuperSeries. And of course, Nationwide Tracking Systems, the proud sponsor of the series. Goodyear Auto Care Rarana, of course, the naming rights sponsor of the Bathurst 1000 last year. They are the naming rights sponsor of the event tonight, the Barber 150. The race stats and facts for you, I ran through a little bit of that a short while ago. Let's revisit that now and tell you that tonight's race, 3.83 kilometre circuit, Barber Motorsports Park, 40 laps, and that equates to 153.209 kilometres. The average lap time is going to be about the 124.5 bracket. once we get into the race trim. Tank capacity is capped at 50 litres, and there are 2 compulsory fuel stops tonight. Fuel burn about 2.8 litres a lap, which is not too bad considering the cars we're dealing with. But the total fuel drop required to get you home will be 112 litres. And there will be, of course, a mandatory pit stop, but there will be 2 pit stops in this race. So that really cancels that out, given the fuel and the caps we've put on that. Weather, nice, dry. As you can see, a little bit cloudy, but iRacing hasn't invented rain yet. They've invented everything else, but not rain. We'll wait and see what eventuates down the track for our favourite sim racing platform. Clock strike 0. Tom Heyman back on track in pole position. The man with the target on his back going into the first corner. The number 1, Lassif Leonage will be there alongside him. Rainer Costello's on the second row. And we'll have a look at that grid in more detail in full for you in just a moment. But a great performance from Tom Heyman. Obviously, he's missed the opening round, and that'll compromise his run going further down the season. But he's back where he wants to be right from the get-go. He was teasing it on his social platforms earlier today about getting back in the sim rig, and getting back on track here. But he's also talking about teasing his real-world plans for 2020 later on, so keep an eye on his Facebook page there as well.
Gentlemen, with qualifying just over, we've got 2 cars starting from pit lane.
Mark Duggan, very good evening to you. Thank you for that from Race Control. Can you elaborate on who's starting from pit lane, please?
We have car 77, Scott McCune, with an illegal tow, and car 956, Peter Crossingham, who had to tow back to the pits after an accident. So they've both got a pit lane start.
So Crossingham was due to start 15th, and the other car you mentioned there was the 77 of Scott McCune, originally scheduled to start 29th. They won't be. This is how it lines up. Tommy Heyman and Rainer Costello. Tommy Heyman and Lassif Leonage from pole and second, respectively. Second row, Rainer Costello and Cameron Veacock. Third row, Cameron Jones and Bradley Vaughan. Fourth row, Michael Lee Masuria and Sean McNamara. Fifth row, Robert Crisdale and Alex Court. Sixth row, Ben Morris and Jacob Brewer. Let's go over the page if we can. David Kirby and Craig Schultz, 7th row. 8th row is Darren Caldwell, all on his own. Of course, Crossingham will start from pit lane. Then Chris Island and Tim Mulford from row 9. Row 10, Matt Davis and Riley Simons. Row 11, Lindsay Hobbs and Brian Cooper. Row 12, Dean Powell and Alan Dawson. Row 13, Chris Barnes and Benjamin Siren. Row 14, Blake Urquhart and also David Leslie. Row 15, Scott McCune, obviously starting from pit lane, but Jason Dibitadito, he will start there all on his own from the outside of row 15. Row 16 is Mitch Campbell and Steve Vella. Row 17, Craig Newell and Sam Katakazinas. Row 18, Daniel Schultz and Craig Hopkins. And row 19, because the field does go back that far, Jim Delios will be there all on his lonesome, I do believe, should he take the start. So the field is set. It's a massive grid. It's a massive site. Will they all scramble into turn 1 safely and cleanly? Let's wait and see. Round 2 of the NTS series is green. Great conversion off the line from Tom Heyman. Beautiful jump as well from the inside from Rainer Costello, but Lassif Leonage shuts the gate and slaughters into second position there as they stretch through turn 2. One car going really wide there on the outside through 2, but everyone's safely away, which is good to see. 40 laps ahead of us here from Barber Motorsport Park. Great conversion off the line from Tom Heyman. Leonage under attack, already under assault from Rainer Costello. And look at Cameron Veacock in there as well. Bradley Vaughan's jumped up nicely. It was Cameron Jones that ran wide out of turn 1 as they head up towards the back section of the circuit for the first time. Right, left, then the hairpin right. Now it was a nice start from Tom Heyman. Good start too from Lassif Leonage to block the attack of Rainer Costello, who got a nice jump and would have had the line if he was a little bit further up the inside. But Lassif Leonage was able to ride with it as we ride on board with Rainer Costello. head around the corner there. In fact, I think we might have the safety car coming out onto the circuit. Safety car deployed, as you can see on the race control board there at the bottom of your screen. Tom Heyman's going to bring him back to the line, and they'll be out behind the safety car, driven tonight by Lee Davis. Tim Mulford off track and out of business, and that's a disappointing start for him. We might have a replay of that, we might not. Tommy Heyman, Lasse Vlinage, Rainer Costello, the top three. SimSnap Racing Photography replay for you. And Jim Delios, bang, into the wall. All on his own. So the field will line up behind the safety car. Tom Heyman in the lead, Lasse Vlinage second, and Rainer Costello third. JP, good to have you on board, mates. Your observations at the start there, if you don't mind.
Yeah, it looked like a cracker at the start. Sorry, it's taken me a little bit longer than I wanted to get into the server. Just having a few issues with the microphone. Looked like a cracker at the start there. Laz is going to really have his work cut out for him, keeping Rainer Costello behind him. I'm not sure what happened there to bring out the safety car. Hopefully we'll get the race control will be able to give us a little bit of enlightenment there. It hasn't shown up on my screen as to what's happened, but I guess it's out. We'll do a couple of laps behind the safety car and then get back to it. But right now, Tommy Heyman's looking, even at this early stage, he's looking pretty good.
He certainly is. My timing screen showing Tim Mulford has only done 0.03 of a lap and has already ended up off track. So I'm not sure exactly what will come of that. Obviously, the big off for Jim Delios, he's been able to continue. Peter Crossingham, Scott McCune and Lindsay Hobbs have already visited the pit lane as well. Crossingham and McCune started there. Here's a replay of the start. We'll watch Tim Mulford here. Oh, there you go. On the main straight. Two offs on the straight. Upside down goes Mulford. My goodness. By the time we saw that, everyone was already into turn one, I'm pretty sure. So no wonder we didn't see it live, but that's a biggie. Jason Bargwanna, at your heart out, JP.
Yeah, I think more like Craig Lowndes with that one, but he didn't roll along the guardrail.
No, he certainly did not. So the safety car will come round. Beautifully presented car that at the front of the field. Lee Davis in control of that. Tow complete for Tim Mulford. He'll be getting repairs in the pit lane. Whether he'll get back out there on track or not remains to be seen. Lindsay Hobbs still in the pit lane as well.
I'll just let you know there, Zach, in this series, if you have to tow, your race is over.
It's done. Yep, copy that. So already a retirement with Tim Mulford.
In the real world, if you did have to tow off the track, then you wouldn't be able to get back on again.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Again, just another little subtle technical feature that increases the realty of the series, and that's why we all love it. Lee Davis, the NTS safety car driver there for you. So Tom Heyman from Lasse Vlinage, Rainer Costello. We'll have a look at a replay of the start later on, folks, and you'll see what we're talking about there with Rainer Costello getting up there on the inside, but I didn't get to finish the point before we fell under safety car. Lasse Vlinage was able to ride around the outside and maintain that outside line, which put him on the inside for turn two. So it was good, aggressive, hard driving from the pair of them, and Rainer Costello has his work cut out for him to try and find a way by Lasse Vlinage, but they've all got their work cut out for them tonight, trying to find a way by Tom Heyman, because by gee, he's in a league of his own at the moment. On the grid, first time this season, on pole position, and already converting beautifully off the start line, and looking like he's a unbackable favourite. I'll say an unbackable favourite, because you won't get too much in return if you do put the money in via your favourite sports betting agency. So Heyman, Vlinage, Costello, Veacock, Vaughan, Jones and Crisdale, the top seven at the moment. Big movers and shakers there just quickly before we go back to green. Michael Imasuria lost 4 spots off the start, was 7th, now 11th. Darren Caldwell gained 3. He's moved up from 16th to 13th. Brian Cooper from 22nd to 15th. That's a good start. Dean Powell up 4 spots as well. He's gone from 23rd to 19th, and Riley Simons from 20th up to 17th as well. Steve Vella from 32nd to 22nd, and David Leslie and Jason Dibidito, they've both moved up 5 and 6 seconds, 6 positions respectively to sit 23rd and 24th. The field is in control of Tom Heyman. When he hits the gas, we get going. Back underway from Barber Motorsport Park. Can you believe we got through Long Beach safety car free, and we've already had one at Barber, and we're only 3 laps into the race. Lap 4, Heyman leads them through, and it's already cleared out 4 car lengths. Brilliant restart from the youngster from the Hunter Valley. Heyman leads. Leonard, Costello, Veacock, Vaughan.
Yeah, look, I think Heyman really caught them napping there, and let's just back the traffic up just a little bit, and it looks like Rainer's going to have a move here.
Rayner Costello on the outside. No further action on the incident with car 85. We'll get to that in a moment, but have a look at Costello. He went right around the outside at 5 to put himself on the inside for 7, and he's pulled it off. The youngster, who of course teamed up with Lachlan Murphy to win the 1000 in December, he's gone to 2nd, and now the 2 youngsters lead the way. Heyman and Costello. Leonard's tucked in behind there in 3rd. Veacock, Vaughan, and last week's winner in Jones. Then you go back to Christo in 7th. McNamara, Court, and Schultz make up the top 10. What a restart from Rayner Costello. I mean, you talk about Tom Heyman. He's cleared out. He's 0.9 of a second ahead of the pack, but that was brilliant. He executed that perfectly, did Rayner Costello, to find a way by Lassif Leonage. Round they come onto the main straight. Lap 4 in the books. 1/10 race distance. We've got 36 to go. It's a long slog from here.
Yeah, he really did a great move. And there you go, Tommy just got off track there a little bit, managed to keep it all together, but that's brought Rayner right up onto him. And it seems like Laz just needed that 3/4 of the lap just to get himself in the pose and get back into a rhythm.
Now we do apologise. We've just I've just read the message that's gone out on the Simshed Broadcasting Facebook live stream. If you are getting a little bit of interference with the broadcast tonight, it's only because there's a storm passing through at JP's end, and therefore, given that I'm not too far south of JP, it could get to my end before the end of the broadcast as well. But we've got our fingers crossed at least. Cameron Jones sits there in 5th. Geez, that was a nice drive from him last week. Absolutely cleaned up at Long Beach. Dominated the proceedings there, won by over 20 seconds, and looks like he'll have his work cut out for him tonight, but consistency's the key. He's got a good launch pad to the series. He can now only build on that in a bid to claim outright honours at the end of the season. Rayner Costello closes right up onto the back of Tommy Heyman, and Matt Davis put it beautifully in the lap that he took us for just before the race got underway. It's so easy to lose 2-3 tenths of a second just by clipping the grass. That's all Heyman did. And look at Costello now, breathing down his neck through turn 1 again. Lap 6 of 40, and Heyman under serious pressure here from Rayner Costello. It could be a duke out between those two tonight. They seem to be gapping Lassif Leonage, who's under pressure from Veacock at the moment. The timing screen's lit up all different colours. Costello down the inside. There was hardly any room to pull it off, but he's got a way around Tom Heyman. Now, can he hold it? Going up to 7, or will Heyman find a way back through on the inside? Have a look at this. He's got it. Not yet. Heyman forces the issue. Side by side. Ripple strips and all, using every bit of real estate there. Great driving from the 2 youngsters, but Costello's going to get the job done. Oh, magnificent. I can't wait to see that on replay. They did not touch panels. Have a look at this.
Honestly, some of the best driving that I've seen in a long while there.
Magnificent stuff. It was a late dive bomb move from Costello. It caught us off guard. And then that put Heyman under the pump. And he knew he could hang there and get the inside line going into the next corner. But Rayner wasn't having any of that. Have a look at this. Side by side on the SimSnap photography replay. 1, 2, 3. Heyman a little bit balked on the exit. And Costello gets the job done on the outside. He carried more exit corner speed there. Matt got it the inside line to the left-hander. Job done. And that's brought Leonard and Veacock and Jones back to the pack. So what was a 2-way fight is now a 5-car fight at the head of the field. Costello, Heyman, Leonard, Vicock, Jones. Have a look at this. Down the inside. Oh, trouble. Jeez, Vicock and Leonard coming together. And that's going to allow Jones up on the outside to get by his teammate.
Looks like Vicock did that all on his own, pitched the brake there and managed to get the back end of the car out a little bit.
Just extraordinary what you're watching here at the moment. They're acting as though it's the last 5 laps, not the first 5. It's like the Daytona 500 all over again. Magnificent stuff. Costello, Heyman, Leonard, Jones, Vicock. There was a drive-through penalty notice come up on our screen there. I couldn't tell you who that was for. I missed the memo in amongst all the excitement there, but David Kirby's currently in pit lane. So too Ben Morris. That might be what we were looking at there.
Looks like we've had something with Scott McEwen. Just go to the replay here to see what this is all about.
There you go.
Done it all on his own.
Makes it easier for race control when they do it all on their own, that's for sure. The simsnap.com iRacing photography replay there for you illustrates it perfectly. So, Brian Cooper in 13th position at the moment in the 344. That's who we're watching right now. Sean McNamara being passed there on the inside. He's just moved up into 9th, getting by Craig Schultz.
Nice move by Alex Court. Have a look at that.
Actually, it was Alex Court, my apologies. So Court through on the inside of McNamara. So here's a replay of that. That happens from time to time. It's all happening here, ladies and gentlemen. Don't worry about that. So there they are on your screen. Flurry of activity in pit lane at the moment. 2 pit stops in this race, remember. And good battle pack forming here. That's the leaders. Costello and Heyman, we know them. They've been at the forefront of this battle all night long. Leonard is in there too. Then Jones, Vicock, Vaughan and Christale all in your picture at the moment, all in your shot. Tim Mulford joins us in the commentary box. He was the first retirement tonight. Tim, you've got to be disappointed it didn't last any more than 100 metres.
Yeah, it didn't even start-finish line, so I thought I'd go have a Greg Murphy 5-minute toilet break before I jumped in just to cool off a little bit.
I like it. Just talk us through what happened, mate. We saw the replay. Obviously, 37 cars trying to launch off the line. Someone was going to run out of room.
Yeah, well, I got a really good start, and old mate on the left of me, apparently 3/4 of the track wasn't quite enough for him. He wanted all of it. And
That's it.
Drove straight into me and into the fence. I went and upside down, and that's race over.
Unlucky. It's been a challenging 2 rounds to start the season. Obviously, Long Beach and here. What are your aspirations moving forward? What's your target when you look at the outright championship going forward? Because obviously the 2 rounds that we've had so far, particularly tonight, not a great points haul. In fact, tonight non-existent. So the only way is up, surely.
Yeah, well, the start of the season I was aiming for a top 20, but after last week's round and sort of surprised myself there, so I'm sort of aiming for a top 15 in the season. Was really looking forward to tonight. Had some decent race pace, but yeah, unfortunately not willing to be. But with the 2 drop rounds, and this will just have to be one of them, and I'll have to focus on next week now.
Speaking of next week, when we look ahead on the calendar, of course, folks, next week you come and join us and we take you to Oran Park in Sydney, the old stable ground of Western Sydney Motorsport. How much do we miss it, and how much do we love that it's been carried on in the iRacing world? What are your thoughts on Oran Park?
To be honest, it's not my most favourite track. Yeah, I'm not particularly fond of it, but I'm sure with the help that we get from the guys in our team, we'll all work out and get some pace and be able to get on with it. The rest of the guys on the team are pretty good like that. They help us out wherever we need it, so it's always good.
Just give us a little bit of an indicator. As a team, how are you guys sitting tonight? Obviously disappointing for you, but who should we be keeping an eye on from your stable?
Yeah, well, definitely Laz. He's pretty much the pace setter in the team at the moment.
That's it. There he is on screen, actually.
Too far behind him, but Rob, or as we call him, Pops, he tends to get some speed out of himself and likes to just show up out of nowhere. So I wouldn't be surprised if he cracks the top 10 at least.
Hold the phone, Tim. I'll come back to you in just a moment. Have a look at that. Good fight, battle, exchange brewing between Leonage and Jones. Jones all over the back of Leonage at the moment. Couldn't quite find a way through in the closing corners of that previous lap. Lap 10 it was. We're on lap 11 now. And you can see that Rainer Costello and Tommy Heyman have skipped clear. Car 958 is going to cop a drive-through for penalty contact with car 956 just quietly as well here, folks. So 958 is Sam Katakazinas and 956 is Peter Crossingham. The night goes from bad to worse for Crossingham. He, of course, started in pit lane there after getting a tow in qualifying. And so far tonight, Ben Morris is in the pit lane. He's 4 laps down. Lindsay Hobbs is 6 laps down. Jim Delios is already a lap down. Peter Crossingham already a lap down, but they're still running. David Kirby and Tim Mulford out of the race, out of proceedings, out of business at this point in time. And Jim Delios blowing up there as well, going along very slowly on the SimSnap photography replay. Cameron Jones, unfortunate, because he was sitting down there in position number 4, fighting with Lassif Leonage for that last spot on the podium. He's just caught too much curb here, I'll say, on the exit of one of the corners. Let's have a look at this. Oh, he's actually, no, he caught too much curb on the previous corner and then ran way too wide, missed the apex, smacked the wall. That's a big one. And the safety car has been deployed for the second time tonight. So the field's going to come back under control of the safety car. Judging by the memo that we just got in our screen there. So that's somewhat very disappointing because that was brewing into a nice little exchange of dry running. Although that being said, it doesn't look like these guys are backing off anytime soon. So now now they've got the memo. Yeah, Heyman and also Costello. Costello the leader, Heyman second. You can see the parked car on the outside of the circuit there. That's the reason why the safety car has been called. Are these guys racing to pit lane, do you think, potentially, to get their first stop out of the way? It seems like they're skipping clear and racing towards pit lane.
100% Zach, that's what they're going to be doing.
Bang.
They can pit when the safety car is released. So the pit lane's open. They're going to be racing in the pit lane now.
Everyone in at this point in time. Tim, are you as surprised as I am that we didn't have one safety car at Long Beach and we've had 2 already at Barber, where there's more runoff area, more space to move?
No, it doesn't really surprise me. I think maybe a few people might have got a bit overexcited with last week and thought, oh, it's pretty simple. But yeah, this track is pretty demanding, so it doesn't surprise me we've had a fair few safety cars already, and no doubt I think we'll get a few more.
So I'm just having a look here at our race server. Look at that, off the pit lane. Nothing in that between Costello and Heyman back out onto the racetrack. In fact, let's see if there are any winners and losers off the pit lane here. Lassif Leonage resumes A-OK. He's good. Movers and shakers, because just about the entire field came into the pit lane with the exception of, just about the entire top 20 with the exception of maybe Jacob Brewer came into the pit lane there, JP. That was a fairly busy run, a very traffic-heavy, congested pit lane just now.
100% Zach, and look at the amount of space that Bradley Vaughan's made up in that, in that pit as well.
Catapulted up into 4th place now as Vaughan. Now Veacock up into 5th. The 555 entry sitting there in 6th at the moment. That's, of course, Robert Crisdale, then Sean McNamara, Jacob Brewer. The Phase 4 Motorsport entry of Craig Schultz is 9th, and Darren Caldwell is 10th now as they come back out and form up behind the safety car. We'll probably go around one more time, I'd assume.
I'd say most likely. This is going to be really interesting, Zach. Bradley Vaughan was the man with the pace last week. And,
Yep.
Unfortunately, he succumbed to a little bit of a he was a victim in somebody else's incident. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens here.
Indeed it will. Lap 13 of 40. Tim, if you're to put your money on anyone at this point in time, your team aside, because we know there's always a little bit of bias within your own team, but if it's not Lassif that gets the job done tonight, who would you think?
Wouldn't surprise me with Rayner. He's a quick young driver and always pretty stable. Once he gets the lead, it's very hard to pass him. But yeah, I'd have to go with Rayner, and if it's not one of our guys, and it wouldn't surprise me if Cameron Veacock pops out of nowhere either.
Rightio. Obviously, the big news here is that Cameron Jones has dropped down the order, obviously down into 18th after crashing there a short while ago. I'm not sure if he was the trigger for the safety car because he's obviously still in the race. Peter Crossingham appears to be out of business. He's 3 laps down. Jim Delios is 3 laps down. Ben Morris, Lindsay Hobbs, Lee Davis. Well, Lee Davis is obviously the safety car, so scratch that. David Kirby and Tim Mulford both out of business as well. So, yeah, it's been a very interesting start here. A high attrition rate, probably higher than we expected at this point in time. We're only on lap 14, so stick with us, folks. Plenty to come. We appreciate Tim Mulford stopping by to have a chat to us. There'll be more post-race interviews with all the drivers that want to come in and have a chat to us after the 40 laps is complete. Going to be very interesting to get their reviews and their thoughts and their postmortems on all of this because, again, the race is only 14 laps old and already we've had so much action to talk about. Next round of the championship, of course, next week, Oran Park, 8:30 Eastern Daylight Time. We'll be with you for that. Don't forget also the Goodyear Auto Care Rurana second tier series comes up tomorrow night as well, same time, same place, right here, Simshed Broadcasting and Real Sim Racing Australasia. Rig starts are critical, Tim, because, and I'll continue to just throw questions your way while you're here. David Kirby's actually standing by in the green room, so we'll get him in just a moment. Restarts are often critical, Tim, because A, they can breed overtaking opportunities and also more safety cars. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, exactly. The restarts, as you said, you don't want to lose a spot. You've got to push, maybe gain a spot, but at the same time, tyres and brakes are cold, so you can't really push too hard, so you're really riding a fine line on the restarts after a safety car. But yeah, like as you said, they do tend to breed more safety cars.
And they're all topped up on fuel for the moment. Tim, we appreciate you stopping by. Thank you very much, mate. Appreciate that. So we'll wish you all the best for next week, and hopefully it goes a lot smoother than this week did. Get back underway here. The NTS Supercar Championship, the Super Series from Barber, the Goodyear Auto Care Rurana 150. And that's a nice restart from Rainer Costello. Tom Heyman tucks in behind. Lassif Leonage is there as well. In fact, they've all gone through smoothly so. The first half dozen.
Another good restart by Rainer Costello there, but this time Tommy Heyman did stick with him, and Lassif wasn't that far behind. But look at this. Straight away, Bradley Vaughan starts to get on the attack.
A brilliant restart from Bradley Vaughan. Up on the inside of Cameron Veacock. And the job done there. Let's wait and see what he can do with Lassif Leonage. Can he find a way by? Not just yet, not close enough. But Leonage is aware of his presence. And he's trying to go with the youngsters at the front of the field. Rainer Costello has had a brilliant start here. Tommy Heyman, of course, tucked in behind him. Not giving an inch at the moment. He's going with him. As soon as Rainer slips up, Tommy's there to slip on by. Here's the simsnaps.com for iRacing photography replay, of course,
Not sure what's
with Ben Mock.
Not sure what's happened here with Ben.
Well, it is interesting because he was already 4 laps down, so he's obviously found a way to get back into the race. But this is off the safety car restart, I think you'll find.
It definitely looks like something off the restart here.
We continue skipping on through. There's the green flag waving now. Restart back on. Morris comes onto the main straight. He's okay for the moment. Maybe turn one.
I'd say he might
Let's wait and see.
might have just stepped out to let the faster cars out of the way because he is a lap car there.
That's right. So he would have been copping blue flags from within iRacing itself, yeah?
I'd say that would be exactly what happened. He's just stepped out of the way and let somebody get out of the way. Meanwhile, that's been going on. The race at the front here is...
Oh, it's electric.
Yep.
It's phenomenal. Costello, Heyman, they've skipped clear. They've put nearly a second between themselves and Lassiflienage, but that an inch isn't as good as a mile around here because, as we've seen already, the pack have been brought back together twice with safety cars. So they'll know that Lassif's still very much in the game, as is Vaughan, as is Veacock. Around they come onto the main straight. David Kirby standing by in the green room. Let's see, can we drag him in and have a chat to him? Because he's obviously retired from the race. Unfortunately so. David Kirby, good to have you on board, mate. Just talk us through what happened, because we saw that you were caught up in an incident there very early on. In fact, it might have been the reason for the second safety car, the first safety car. I'll stand corrected a second time.
Yeah, good evening, Jack. Zach, sorry. Not where I want to be right now, but unfortunately, I stalled the car just as the lights went green, frantically trying to get it started again. Whilst also sitting there holding the wheel firmly tight, waiting to be hit. I did get hit, unfortunately. A lot of guys missed me, which was great. Well done to them. Apologies. I think it was the 12 car that hit me, so I'd just like to send a big shout out and say sorry and apologies on that. So yeah, went from bad to worse, really.
It certainly did. Quite unfortunate, obviously. We're just having a look here. Alex Cord all over the back of the 344 of Brian Cooper at the moment. This is the battle for 11th and 12th, and lurking behind him there is Chris Ireland. Obviously, you're not the only one to retire on lap one, mate. Obviously, we've had Tim Mulford come in and have a chat to us as well. It's got to be disappointing given so much time, effort, preparation goes into these races. We know that. And for it to only last, 50 metres, or in your case, not even get off the line, that's got to be real disheartening.
Oh, look, it is. It is. I qualified well. I was up, close to the top 10 in P13 to start the race, and I had everything going. And then I moved my clutch literally probably a millimetre, and it stalled the car right as everybody took off. And I'm like, what do you do?
Well,
I'm kicking myself.
Exactly, mate. Very disappointing, obviously, but. Onwards, and especially given that it's Barber Motorsport Park, it's a track that throws up great racing and everyone seems to enjoy. But onwards and upwards now to Oran Park, southwest of Sydney. What are your thoughts on that?
Unfortunately, I'm going to miss next week, the next 2 weeks. So I'm away on holidays in northern Queensland. So bit of a shame. I obviously was going to use those as drop rounds, but obviously I'm going to miss a round now because of tonight. But look, it is what it is. I'll be back here tomorrow night for a super sprint round anyway, so in another series, so I'll redeem myself tomorrow.
No. Alex Court went for the move on the inside there of Brian Cooper and has come unstuck and has been catapulted down the order down to 18th, JP.
Yeah, it looked like Brian just got a little bit squirrely going through there and just let go of the brake just as Alex was going through, making the pass, and clipped the back end of Alex's car and rotated it. Alex did really well to be able to sort of put the power down and get the car going again, but yeah, that's cost him.
It's cost him dearly, no doubt about that. And these are the little moments that we talk about at the end of the championship as season defining when you look at positional battles in the points race. David Kirby's still with us. You mentioned tomorrow night, obviously. I'll be in the booth for that one as well. That's the Gentleman Sim Racing Club we're talking about there. Folks, of course, they're friends of SimShed Broadcasting. JP looks after the broadcast for them on a Friday night, and we look forward to your company then. So obviously a second chance to have a crack at Barber, mate, but disappointing in the grand scheme of things to miss out here, given that you were planning on the next 2 weeks being drop rounds, and that really makes it an uphill battle as far as the championship is concerned.
Oh, look, absolutely. And my main focus is this series on a Tuesday night. It has been all last season as well, and this is the one that I want to do like really well because there are some really fast guys in here, and I want to, and put myself up against them on a week-to-week basis. Obviously, I take what I learn on a Tuesday night into Wednesday night, and I'm sitting P2 there. But it is disappointing. But hey, look, I'll bounce back, regroup. If I can find a rig in Townsville over the next couple of weeks, I'll happily warm the seat for somebody, and hopefully still be able to race. But we'll see how we go.
Memo to anyone on the sunny coast.
Townsville.
I'm reading two things at the moment. Anyone up in Townsville, North Queensland, anyone up there, Townsville, Cairns, I don't care. Anyone that can help us out and get a sim rig for Mr. Kirby, let us know, because we'd love to have him on board on location. Now, here's some aggressive driving on the inside. Powers are up on the inside there, trying to get by on Cooper, and job done on the exit of the corner, I think. Yep, got it done. Into 13th goes Power. Cooper slots back into 14th now. Siren in behind them, then caught. Have a look at this, falling back on the inside. I tell you what, that was close. Cooper unable to pull off the move. And Powell holds on to 13th for the moment. Good, fast, aggressive racing here. Hey, David Kirby, before we let you go, mate, thank you so much for stopping by to have a chat to us. Obviously, we would have preferred to have a chat with you at the end of the broadcast, not midway through, but that's life. If you can't get a rig in Townsville, it'll be a while before we catch up with you, of course. But that said, if you're not winning the race tonight, which you're not, if it's not someone from your team, who are we watching here? Who's your money on?
We got Rayner, Tommy, and Laz. Look, it's pretty close. Just looking at the timing now, I reckon. Any one of those top five, really. But it's all going to come down to pit strategy. Who uses their tyres first? Who has already used their tyres? So we'll see how we go. It'll be good to sit back and watch, actually.
Indeed it will be, mate. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hard luck tonight, but onwards and upwards in, I was going to say next week, but 3 weeks' time.
As the late, great Peter Brock says, that's racing.
Exactly right, mate. All the best. Thanks for that.
Thanks, Zach. See you guys.
JP, he's absolutely right about this contest at the front of the field. It is on like Donkey Kong right here, right now. Rainer Costello, Tom Heyman, Lassif Lenage, Bradley Vaughan. There's about a second and a half in this. And, of course, Cameron Veacock's only working a couple of positions away. Cameron Jones is on the fight back, sitting there in 12th at the moment. It is on. And he makes an interesting point about strategy here too, JP, because the next round of pit stops, if that too falls in the window of a safety car, well, they're in luck.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, this is still anyone's race. It's a 4-car race at the moment. It's soon going to be a 5-car race. And you've got Robert Crisdale and Sean McNamara that are looming up on these guys as well. So, yeah, this is probably the closest racing that we've seen in a long time.
They've been saying in the real world about trying to reinvent the wheel and introduce things like push to pass and all that sort of stuff. You don't need it when you have good racetracks, and I think that's a very important point to make. We're seeing some of the best supercar racing you'll see anywhere this week at the front of the field, where you've got 5, 6, 7 cars in contention, and they've only got the setups that are being run on those current gen supercars. No push to pass, no added assist, none of this rubbish that they're talking about for Gen 3. And I think it's really important that we get back to proper hard racing, and that's what we're seeing here at the moment. I couldn't believe that when they came out with the push to pass talk. That was just like, hang on, you're not IndyCar. Just take a step back and settle down. Have a look at this. Bradley Vaughan sitting there in 4th at the moment. Lassif Lenage is just ahead of him. They've, again, just lost sight of the bumper bar of Tommy Heyman. They've dropped maybe 3 car lengths here, which isn't much in the grand scheme of things, but it's enough to at least take a little bit of pressure off Heyman and Costello. Through they go again. We are past half race distance. That's the part we haven't told you yet. Our lap count has disappeared from the top of the screen there, but we're on lap 23 now of 40.
Yeah, look, what's really interesting about this is that Rainer Costello, Tommy Heyman have both got pedigree in cars. Bradley Vaughan is racing the Toyota 86 series, and you've got Laz in the middle there mixing it up with these guys, and Cameron Veacock right behind Bradley Vaughan now, starting to put pressure on Bradley.
Yeah, This is a really good fight. It's something about Barber Motorsport Park. It doesn't matter whether it's GTs or Indy cars or supercars. It always throws up good racing. And when you got the best in the business as tightly bunched as these guys are, and these are the best within the server, there's no doubt about that. There were a couple that are missing out tonight because of hard luck, either on the grid or partway through this race. But when you got these 5 going at it, I mean, that's pretty hard to beat at the moment. Have a look at this. 18 to go, 17 next time by the line. Heyman all over the back of Costello. Now, the question is, for Tom Heyman, obviously they're all in a fuel window very shortly. Now he has a look. I was just about to say, the question is, when does he go for a dive? He's dived now, but he's put himself on the outside for the run of the main straight. Still side by side, the two youngsters across the strike we go. Costello on the inside, Heyman on the outside to turn 1, and Heyman will look to stick there and put himself on the inside for turn 2, and that's exactly what he's done. Oh, new lead change. It's the first time in a while that Heyman's back in front. There's a touch between the pair of them, and Costello immediately redresses that, and look who that invites back into the fight. Not only Leonage, but also Vaughn and Veacock. We're going to 5-way fight at Barber.
Look at this. Look what's happened.
Veacock! Vaughn up on the outside. Leonage fighting for life on the inside, and Vaughn up on the outside. And Veacock not too far away either. 17 laps to go. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, the heart's going to be racing if it's like this for the next 17 laps. Don't worry about that. And there's a real prospect now that things are settled down of green flag pit stops, which throws the cat amongst the pigeons as far as strategy and a few other factors are concerned. I don't think they would have bothered taking tyres in the first pit stop, so this will be tyre pit stops for everybody, I would think, next time around, because the first caution only, well, the second safety car only came on lap 12, and that was probably too early for a lot of them to consider taking tyres. So they're all going to be on worn rubber by the end of this stint, but fresh rubber awaits. Across the line we go. We're on board with Veacock. We're following Vaughn. He's all over the back of Leonage at the moment. Heyman holds the lead from Costello.
Big question here is who bleeds first and goes into tyres?
Exactly. And because they're all on the same fuel strategy, JP. So it's not a question of fuel, it's a question of tyre life. Who's burnt the most rubber? What a great fight this is. But again, no sooner do Leonage, Costello and Heyman get brought back to the pack than Costello and Heyman skip a little bit clear again.
Yeah, they've done an absolutely stellar job. Heyman and Costello, I mean, that kind of close racing without touching. Yeah, look, Rayner had a little mistake there, but he had the presence of mind to address straight away. It did bring the other cars into the pack, but look, they've been able to lift the pace and skip away.
Yeah. So Heyman has his biggest lead of the night. It's out to 0.9 of a second. Costello has 0.8 of a second over Leonage at the moment. Vaughn and Veacock are within 0.8 of a second respectively. And now there goes Veacock. There goes Costello. They're the first to jump. The strategy game is underway. Veacock in the lane. Costello in the lane. Here we go. McNamara, Brewer, Schultz, Caldwell. All follow him in. So too Dean Powell. Now Tom Heyman has a clear racetrack in front of him. Does the up and under work for these guys that are in the pit lane right now? The undercut, or will it be the overcut? Heyman, Leonage and Vaughn that benefit here.
Yeah, they're going to be looking for that undercut to try to put a bit of distance on these front runners. This is going to be really interesting to see what happens.
I'm just losing you there a moment, JP. I'll keep pressing on here. Heyman, Leonage, Vaughn, Crisdale, Ireland and Court now the top 6, but we know that pit stops are coming for these guys at the front of the field. And the question is, where were they on fuel as well as tyres? Obviously, tyre life was more of a concern, but we got 12 laps out of that opening stint. 312s don't get you to 40, so there'll be a little bit of that weighing up as well. Tommy Heyman will be thinking, if I can get 14 out of the tank, I can get 14 out of the tank twice. We have had 2 safety car periods, of course. And now they're in. Now they come. Heyman dives in. Vaughan goes in. But Leonage soldiers on. So Leonage is going to go one lap further, which is going to give him slightly fresher rubber on lap 40 than what those around him have. This is interesting tactics.
This could be a mistake by Leonage staying out for that extra lap. We've seen him do this before and drop down the order. So this is going to be really interesting to see where his tactics lead.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. It's a critical point of the race because if Leonage can pull this off and be back out in front of particularly Vaughan and also not necessarily Costello, but he wasn't racing with Vaughan. It was Veacock, of course, who's come out there in 13th, make that 12th. That's the interesting thing for mine. Rainer Costello sits there as the effective second place man at the moment because Tom Heyman has got out ahead of him and by a good margin too. Heyman's got 2.5 seconds on Costello. So the the overcut has worked for Heyman.
Absolutely.
The undercut has not worked for Costello. That is big.
I'm just looking at their lap times here. Costello and Heyman, their best lap time was both at 23.4. Laz's best lap time was at 23.6. His last lap was at 24.2. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he gets, what sort of time he gets on his in lap and what sort of time Heyman and Costello get now that they've been released.
All right. Sorry, JP. Obviously some issues there at your end, but Chris Ireland is now in the pit lane. I was trying to make sense of what you were saying there, but we do have a little bit of a signal issue. Chris Ireland is in the pit lane. Lassif Leonage has continued on yet again. This is the 4th lap that he stayed out after the pit stop started. So this is quite an extraordinary run from Lassif Leonage. He's managed to get 16 laps not only out of the tank, but also out of the. He's managed to get 28 laps out of the tyres if he's able to stretch them all the way through. Or no, I'm just having a look at the pit times here this time round. He couldn't have taken tyres in the first stop. Or has he fooled us all and taken tyres in the first stop and we're not aware of it? And he's on the fresh tyres now and he's going to go as long as he can to try and at least give himself a chance at victory and then be on shot rubber at the end of the race. I don't know how this is going to play out. This is extraordinary. Leonage, Crisdale, Court, Urquhart, Heyman. Leonage goes around again. This is an extraordinary run from Lassif Leonage. Will it pay off or will it come back to bite him? The margin to Tom Heyman is about 29.4 seconds. I'm not sure what the transit time is, but his last pit stop was 14.2 seconds. So I think, it's going to be touch and go here. I really don't know who wins this scrap. Of course, Heyman still has Costello covered. Heyman has done a beautiful job getting through the pit window here because he's managed to get out and be about 1.5 seconds, nearly 2 seconds clear of Rainer Costello. So Rainer Costello is pushing it uphill for the next 10 laps here to get to the end of this race and be within striking distance of Heyman. And of course, we all know a late race safety car would change everything, but we've seen no sign of the safety car since I think it was lap 14. They all pitted in at the end of lap 12 or lap 13. They dived for the pit lane. And the safety car, they've all been very well behaved boys ever since then. The safety car has not been required since that second interval. Lassif Leonage, does he pit this time? No. Lassif Leonage goes along again. Crisdale's in the lane, however. Robert Crisdale in the lane. Leonage crosses the line to complete lap 29. So lap 30 in the books now. Is he pulling off a masterstroke here, or is he not telling it? Is there something that we don't know? It seems strange that he's carried on as long as he has when everyone around him came in 5-6 laps ago. Again, unless they did take tyres on lap 12 and they had to try and get 28 out of them. whereas everyone else is coming and taking tyres on potentially lap 26, 27. Here's Steve Vella into the lane from position number 12. And Lassif Leonage continues. Caught second. It's a team 1-2 at the moment. Will it stay that way? Caught as also on a long stint. He came in on 12. He hasn't been back in. Massive fuel drop coming up for those guys in just a moment. Tom Heyman sits third, the effective race leader. 2.5 seconds to Costello. Veacock third, Crisdale Vaughan. 4 and 5 on corrected order, depending upon where Leonage and Court slot into this. We're not sure of that at this stage. When will they dive to the lane? Leonage continues on again. 10 laps to go at Barber. And these two are still required to pit at least once. Leonage and Court to turn 1. Leonage. He leads his teammate by 20 seconds. Now Court dives in. Court comes in at the end of lap 29, on the end of lap 30, I should say. So Leonage will either be in this lap or next, you would think. He surely can't soldier on much more than that. This is no longer a question of the tyre life for Leonage. It's a question of fuel burn life. Because we were of the belief that they'd only get 16, 17 laps to a tank. Yes, the safety car might have helped stretch that one lap, but he's right in that window, I would have thought, of an empty tank. Extraordinary stuff here. Heyman and Costello, 2.5 seconds separates them. And the question you ask yourself now is, did Tom do everything right in the pit lane? Has something happened to Rayner that we've not picked up because you couldn't separate them with the coat of varnish for much of the first 26 laps? And then all of a sudden, Heyman's come out and put 2.5 seconds on him by pitting 1 lap later. Of course, that's 1 lap less fuel, but I wouldn't have thought it'd be 2.5 seconds difference. Lassif Leonage is in the lane. Leonage in pit lane at long last. We keep our eyes on Tom Heyman and Rayner Costello to see where Leonage slots into the scheme of things here. 9 laps to go at Barber Motorsport Park. What a performance this has been from Heyman. Renova Castrian for Excalibur Motorsport. So JP has stopped. JP's in my ear saying that Leonage has got to his box. He's stopped. He's not out yet, though. Leonage is now on his way, but not before losing first, second. But he'll slot out in third. And that's nice play from Leonage. Play on, ladies and gentlemen. He lost first and second, as we suspected he probably would, based on the form of Heyman and Costello, the lap speed and everything else. But Leonage has slotted back in exactly where he was before that second round of pit stops. In third place, slightly ahead of Cameron Veacock. Crisdale, the big winner in all of this, he's slotted up into 5th. But Bradley Vaughan has slipped, I should say, down the order, down to 6th position. He was fighting in the top 5 before that pit window. McNamara 7th, Caldwell, Jones and Schultz the top 10. Jones, of course, fighting back after a mid-race incident. Caldwell there in 8th spot at the moment. Pressure mounting from behind him, and that's Jones, of course, with a slightly damaged car. Let's wait and see what he can do here. Oh boy, Peter Kelly, save me. Tell me what's going on, please.
Fair bit tonight by the look of it. I've had quite a few incidents out there since the start of the race, so you might have seen a big stall at the start, so not much old mate could do there.
That's right.
Bit of no further action with a couple of cars, so pretty well steered into each other. Couple of drive-throughs, 43 and car 19, bit of collision. No further actions, bit of a silly driving, bumping, and bit of not so much bump and runs, a bit more rubbing as racing. So getting busy out
Just
there.
Before you go, it certainly is. So, because there was one of those penalty notices come up just as action was happening, so I didn't get to read it. So 19, Michael Imasuria, he's had a drive-through, and 43, Ben Morris. I think we'll see the replays of the incidents after the race, but obviously avoidable contact in race control's view.
Correct. Yeah, we've got 4 of us up here tonight, so we've got all the eyes on the game tonight.
been a cracking race. I mean, to think that we've had 2 safety cars, we didn't have any at Long Beach, it hasn't derailed from the quality of the spectacle we've had out here. It's been fantastic, hasn't it?
Oh, so far, yeah, you're not wrong. It was great racing last week. I think everyone went in there a little bit cautiously. This week, maybe going a bit, I wouldn't say gun-ho. They're pretty clean racing out there, but incidents happen. Sometimes you can avoid, sometimes you can't. So we'll keep an eye on it all and keep enjoying the racing.
Thank you very much for that, Peter. I appreciate that. Update from Race Control. Peter and the team doing a great job as always. Good on you, mate.
Cheers, mate.
7 laps to go. Tom Heyman, the leader. Rainer Costello, Lassif Leonage, Cameron Veacock and Robert Crusdale. They're the top 5. Bradley Vaughan sits there. 6, Sean McNamara, Darren Caldwell, Cameron Jones, of course. Then you go back to Craig Schultz. That's the top 10. That is Veacock in 4th, chasing Leonage in 3rd. The margin less than a second. Same back to Crusdale. Oh, boy. Meanwhile, this guy's been in a league of his own tonight. Pole position. Not the fastest lap of the race, though. That goes to Rainer Costello at the moment, judging by the times I'm seeing here. 1:23.39 compared to Heyman's 1:23.40, so nothing in it between the two of them. But Costello, if he doesn't walk away with P1, he will walk away with the fastest lap of the race at this stage. Cameron Jones. Last week's winner. It's not hero to zero, but it's hero to off the podium, unfortunately, for him tonight, as he tries to salvage a finish inside the top 10 in the closing stages here. So 6 laps to go. Craig Schultz looking a little bit worse for wear there as well, actually. The rear wing missing off that car, but Jones is all over the back of Caldwell here at the moment. One slip up from Caldwell and Jones will find his way through, but no doubt his last time was a 24.8 and Caldwell's is a 24.7, so there's 2 evenly matched at the moment. It would appear as though there's not too much damage on that Jones entry, but it's enough to obviously take him out of contention at the pointy end of town. There's Veacock sitting 4th at the moment, just slightly lost a little bit of ground there. When I say a little bit, I mean a 10th, maybe 2. To Lassif Leonage, not much more than that. Robert Crusdale sits 3rd at the moment. Good race, this one, folks. If you haven't enjoyed tonight, you're difficult to please. This has been really good stuff for Simshed Broadcasting, the NTS SuperSeries, the Goodyear Auto Care Rana, Barber 160, of course, from Barber Motorsport Park, 150, I should say. And Robert Crusdale, we sit there with him in 5th position, doing a nice job. All over the back of Cameron Veacock. So Veacock's trying to catch Leonage, who's slowly skipping clear, and that'll be fresher tyres or less fuel in the tank or something that'll be affecting that. Leonage has been able to skip clear. These 3 guys, or 2 guys at least, Veacock and Leonage, you couldn't separate them, you couldn't split them in the opening 2 stints of this race. But Leonage is just gradually dragging clear. 1.5 the margin between them 2 at the moment, and then of course Crusdale in behind, putting all sorts of pressure on Veacock, Vaughan, McNamara, Caldwell, Jones and Isle in the top 10. The scroll at the bottom of the screen there will show and tell the story for you. We are on lap 35, 5 laps to go for those of you that might be wondering, because obviously the lap counter is gone at the top there. I think we'll have to find a way there, JP, during the week to leave the lap counter and lose the totem pole if we're going to run with the scroll along the bottom. There's another thing for you to think about when you should be sleeping. He loves it when we do that. 5 laps to go. Heyman, Leonage, Costello, Veacock and Crusdale the top 5. And back we go to this battle between Jones and Caldwell. And Jones has got Chris Ireland all over his tail at the moment as well. Up the outside goes Ireland now. Right around the outside of Jones. Can he get the job done? No. Too wide on the exit. Lost all the momentum he had. That'll allow Craig Schultz a sniff, potentially. But he's a little bit too far back at this stage. Heyman's in complete control at the front. It has been a superb drive from him. A terrific performance. He's either been first or second the entire night, with the exception of when we were cycling through that second pit window. As we see the SimSnap iRacing photography replay for you. And run to turn 1, Rainer Costello. Uh-oh. Grass and gone. What a catch. Did well to catch it. but has lost second in the process to Lassif Leonage. Big moment there for Rainer Costello. Leonage finds himself in second now. And 0.8 the margin from Leonage to Costello, who's got it all to do with 3 laps to go next time by the strike. What a moment that was for Rainer Costello. Did well not to put it in the wall. Geez, his reflexes are good, this kid. Unbelievable moment there. It's been one of those sorts of nights, hasn't it? We're only 90% of the way through the race now, but we haven't had much of an opportunity to take a breath. It's just extraordinary. 4 laps to go, 3 next time by the strike. Heyman the leader by 3.3 seconds. Surely that's an unassailable lead, considering where he's been most of the night in terms of outright lap speed. It would take a monumental, catastrophic disaster for the great man to lose out here, but it'll be our second different winner of the season, and there's a long list of drivers that could appear on that winners list as the season goes on. Karoff there on the exit of 15, coming into 16, he has rejoined, did so without impeding traffic around him. Across the strike we go, we ride with Rainer Costello, chasing down Lassif Leonage. Can he get there? Let's wait and see. 3 to go at Barber Motorsport Park in Birmingham, Alabama. Second United States round of the championship. There are a few more, of course, coming up. Next week, we're on Aussie turf with Oran Park hosting what should be a cracking round of the championship. Join us for that 8:30 Eastern Daylight Time next Tuesday night, the 23rd of February. So they make their way around turn 5 one more time. On the run down to 6, 7 and 8. And it just looks as though Leonage has got Costello's measure, but Costello inching away at that little margin, inch by inch, lap by lap. It's now within 0.5 of a second. It has been as high as 0.8, 0.9, but Costello's not giving up here, which is really good to see. Last lap, Leonage a 1:24.11, Costello a 1:24.12. How about that for the evenness of this field? Heyman a 25.17. He's backed off a little bit, if anything. 2 laps to go for the youngster from the Hunter Valley, or from the Newcastle area, I should say. Newcastle, Hunter Valley, potato, same. Leonage, Costello, Vicock, Crisdale and Vaughan. And I can say that too because when people talk about where I'm from, which is originally the great part of the world that is known as Cessnock, some people will say, oh, where's that? Oh, it's just, not far from Newcastle, mates. So Newcastle, Hunter Valley, it's very much their brothers and sisters and cousins, It's a good thing. 2 laps to go here. Tom Heyman's put in a superb drive. Looking forward to seeing what his real-world plans are for this year. Of course, Tom Heyman Motorsport, you can follow his action and activity on social media. But for right now, we're just going to bask in the glory that has been a start-to-finish performance at Barber Motorsport Park, and not a bad way, I should say, to just fire yourself into the front line of this championship after missing out last week. He wasn't on the grid last week. He's really sent a message right up to the top of the leaderboard with this performance here tonight. But he's not yet finished it off. He's got 1 1/4 laps to go. Leonage under pressure from Costello still. Vicock under serious pressure from Crisdale and Vaughan at the moment. Vaughan trying to get back into the top 5. Crisdale trying to keep him out. McNamara, Cordwell, Jones and Ireland make up the top 10. Last lap. Board in the air right now. White flag flies at Barber. Around the long carousel corner they go. This has been terrific. We're looking forward to having a chat with Tom Heyman here tonight in the post-race just to get his thoughts on this, because he's hit the track and just looked at home right from the outset. He was fastest in qualifying, had pole position, converted that into an early race lead. It turned into a great little exchange between him and Rainer Costello. And now, after the second round of pit stops, the long cut worked rather than the short cut, the undercut. The long cut worked supremely well for him. And also for Lassif Leonage, let's not forget as well. Costello coming home, trying to put the pressure on Leonage here, 0.75 of a second the margin though, so I think Leonage might just have the job done there. Really tight margin, second through to 6. You can see them all in the shop there, but this guy has been supreme tonight. This has been an outstanding performance from a youngster that has truly got a hell of a lot of potential, and I can't wait to see him put it all on the table. Last turn, checkered flag. Tommy Heyman lights it up at Barber and gets the job done. The Goodyear Auto Care run at Barber 150 goes to that young man right there in a superb drive at Barber Motorsport Park. Round 2 of the Nationwide Trading Systems V8 SuperSeries, and the Excalibur Esports entry gets the job done. What about that for a race? Leonage second, Costello third, Vicock, Crisdale, Vaughan and McNamara are the top 7. Courtwell comes home in 8th. Jones and Court make up the top 10. Schultz and Ireland behind that. Then not too far away is Jacob Brewer, Dean Power, Matt Davis. It's all about Tom Heyman tonight. He upstaged everybody, got the job done. Not sure if he led the most laps tonight. Didn't have the fastest lap. That went to Rainer Costello in the end of 1:23.39. But this guy, just clean, consistent, brilliant in the pit stops, and arguably it was that second round of pit stops where the job was done, where the race was won for Tom Heyman. He came out of that pit sequence with a 2.5 second advantage and did not look back. A lot of retirements tonight. Few guys still circulating that were 5, 6, 7 laps down. Good on them for staying out there. A long attrition rate, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars not making it to the checkered flag in the end there. And good news is the NTS safety car only did about 5, 6 laps tonight, so that's a good thing. Brilliant racing, and a huge congratulations to that man, young Tom Heyman right there, who gets the job done. We'll hear from him in just a moment. He'll come round onto the main straight, and I think there might be a few celebrations in order right here, and rightly and justifiably so. Really good stuff. There it is. Let's crank up the volume and have a listen to this. Outright official results for you. Goodyear Auto Care Barber 150. Tom Heyman getting the job done by 1.8 seconds in the end. Ford on top. How about that first time this season? Lassif Leonage, Rainer Costello make up your podium. Cameron Vicock, Robert Crisdale, Bradley Vaughan, Sean McNamara, Darren Caldwell, Cameron Jones and Alex Court made up the top 10. Over the page, 11th, I should say, through to 20th. Craig Schultz, Chris Ireland, Jacob Brewer, Dean Power, Matt Davis, and then Alan Dawson, Blake Urquhart, then Ben Siren, Chris Barnes, and also Sam Katagazinas made up the top 20 there. We'll let that one sit there for a few seconds longer because we didn't give you a good enough look at that. If we can, JP, sorry about that. There they go. So in the end, quite a few Holdens in this field, but Ford getting the job done tonight. Good to see a long list of drivers on the lead lap as well, outside the top 20, still on the lead lap. Really good stuff. Let's go over the page now and have a look at that 21 through 30 if we can. There they are. Scott McCune from Daniel Schultz, and then Craig Newell, Riley Simons and Steve Vella. So the top 25 all on the lead lap. Mitch Campbell was a lap down. Craig Hopkins behind him. Ben Morris stayed out there till the end. Then David Leslie, Jason Dibadito, and that's the top 30 for you. Long list of retirements down the end there. Scrap Lee Davis because he's the safety car, but it gives you a fair indication that we had Lindsay Hobbs 7 laps down. We also had Brian Cooper, Michael Imasuria, Peter Crossingham, Jim Delios, and David Kirby and Tim Mulford out of business there very early on. Great race. Second round of the championship, with thanks to all the great people that helped make the series happen, of course. And they are Nationwide Tracking Systems, Racecraft Simulations, and Blue Stampede Labour Hire. Also, of course, the great people at Goodyear Auto Care, Rarana, and we can't forget Track Cams for Gourmet, who make our track camera packs possible, and also the great people at Simshed Broadcasting that bring you all the action from this series. So the Goodyear Auto Care, Rarana, Barber 150 in the books, done and dusted. And Rainer Costello was on the podium tonight in third position. Lassif Leonard second, and Tom Heyman, your race winner. Let's have a chat to the top three now. Let's start with Rainer Costello. Rainer, was looking so good there for so long. Nothing separating you and Tommy Heyman in some of the cleanest and most exciting racing we've seen already this season. It'll go a long way, to being the best duel we have throughout the entire championship. It's an early call to make in round two, but that was the intensity of it. It was so clean and so fiercely fought between you pair. Unfortunately, the undercut strategy didn't work for you. Tell us what happened between the pit stop and then rejoining the circuit, getting back out there, and then finding out you're 2.5 seconds off Tommy Heyman's tail.
Yeah, that was a really good race. A lot of respect for Tommy and Laz. We had some great battles there. I came into the pits trying to do the undercut. Took tyres on the second stop, but just had to let the tyres come up to temp. And I think Tommy was fuel compromised in that last in. That's why I was going sort of slow at the end, trying to save some fuel. So I was kicking myself from the mistake. But yeah, I think I'd say he put on a little bit less fuel.
And that's all it means in the end is that you've managed to get third there. Tell us about the mistake late in the race, mate, though, that, obviously the fuel's 1 point of difference here, but then you've made a little slip up through turn one. Easy to do. We've seen a few guys come unstuck there, but that was inevitably what cost you second. But you didn't give up without a hard fight. You fought Lassif Leonard all the way, just couldn't find a way by.
Yeah, I fell victim to putting a wheel on the exit of turn one, and I just locked up the tyres trying not to hit the wall. Got back in the race, but yeah, that really cost me.
Did well to keep it off the wall, but the podium streak continues here. Really solid start to the championship. What are your thoughts going into Oran Park next week, which will be a cracking race, I'm sure?
Well, I won't have much practice because we're off to the Australian Kart Championship in Ipswich for round one. So we'll get back. I'll have little preparation, so we'll just send it.
Just send it. I like it. Hey, speaking of the karting championship, good luck. I'm hearing that you probably should bring your wets with you. There's some rain in the forecast up here, but it must be nice to at least be going back real world racing at a national level after a frustrating 2020.
Yeah, I'm really excited. We're looking really strong. We found some pace in our kart. Dad ordered some wets. Had a look at the weather forecast yesterday, and it's looking like it's going to be a rainy one.
Oh, yeah, and actually there were a couple of people watching the broadcast that are coming up here to compete this weekend. You heard it here first, boys. Pack the gumboots, pack the umbrella, pack the raincoat. But let's keep our fingers crossed that we do get some dry running at some point, though. Hey, Rainer, when you look at the fact that you and Tommy are two of the youngest on the grid, and you kept it so clean and enthralled all the audiences watching for as long as you did there, it bodes well for the season ahead. It's a long campaign, but you guys are formidable opponents for the rest of the competition at such an early point of the championship.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to many great battles with Tommy. He missed round one. I'm not sure why, but so I'd say the objective will just be to collect as many points as possible, keep it consistent, keep it out of the wall. But yeah, I had a lot of fun battling with Tommy. Left just enough space to go around the outside, and then I left him enough space. And yeah, we had some really close moments, but it was just a good, clean battle.
great clean battle. As I say, you'll do well to find a better battle than that in the entire championship for the race lead as far as the NTS series is concerned, folks. I'm calling it now. Barber Motorsports Park just delivers exceptional racing every time we use it. Rainer, we'll let you go, mate. Thank you very much for that. Well done. Before we do, though, let you go, surely you've got a couple of people that you want to give a nod to, some sponsors and some supporters.
Yeah, I'd like to thank E1 Sim Racing for all their support. Coughlin Race Engineering, Daniel Coughlin, our sponsor, who does all the setups for GAC, and he helps out with setups for the NTS series. Total IT Solutions Brisbane, Abrizi Simware, and Nationwide Tracking Systems, and all the series sponsors for making the series possible.
Well done, mates. Good luck this weekend. Might even see you trackside. I'm only 20 minutes from the track, and I've got a whole house of karting people coming to stay here this weekend, so I'll be out there both days. Good luck, all the best, and we'll check in next week.
Awesome, mate. We'll be good.
Excellent stuff. Rainer Costello, third tonight. I mean, unlucky, but again, how many times do you see it? You slip a wheel there on the curb at turn one, and you're a passenger. Unfortunate for Rainer, but hey, what about this guy, Lassif Leonard? Actually, Rainer's still here, so just hang there for a moment, Rainer, because I want to invite you on this conversation as well. Lassif, talk to me about, second, firstly, congratulations on that, but B, the strategy game. You went very long in the second stint. What do you know that we didn't at the time? Did you take fresh tyres in the first stop, or were you on completely worn and torn rubber there before that second pit stop? What was the key to the longer second stint? Because you're about 6 or 7 laps after Tom came in.
I'd rather not disclose my strategy, mate, but it didn't quite work out the way I wanted. I wanted to go past both of them, but that was all right. I mean, at the end, Rainer made a mistake, so I capitalized on that. But I knew I could still hold on to third, worst case scenario. So,
Rainer, where were you with tyres, mate? Because obviously the back end of the race there, it didn't necessarily become a fuel discussion. It became a tyre discussion because everyone came in at the same time at lap 12 there.
Yeah, at the point I thought it was way too long to run one set of tyres on, so I took a set of tyres at the second stop.
Yeah.
I'd say everyone just came in at that first stop. It came around a pretty good time to put fuel in and just get back out there.
And to be fair, if we'd have got a safety car around that 25, 26 mark where you guys started to come in again, it would have eliminated the strategy game. So it was actually probably a good thing that we went green right throughout that second stint. Well done. Rainer, thank you. We'll let you go now. Lassif, let's just reflect on this because that was an incredibly intense race. We'll do well to have one more intense than that until we get to Bathurst for the 250 at the end of the season. But from your standpoint, second, obviously a little slip up for Rainer, invited you in there, but when you came out of the pit stops and you were third, were you happy or satisfied with that, and second's a bonus, or were you pushing for the win given that these two young blokes have just kind of slotted their way in and starting to show you older gentlemen how this is done?
Well, you're never happy with third, but I saw the way those two were racing early on, so I was hoping for some sort of an incident between the two. But that didn't happen. But I thought, you know what, I'll stick to third, keep going at it, keep doing those laps, and see if something happens up the front. So, but I could see that Tommy was saving fuel. He was dropping his pace a fair bit. So, but still wasn't enough to catch him.
Indeed. Now, also, let's just quickly talk about, actually, we've got all three in here now, so this is good. We'll share the conversation around for a little while. We actually ended earlier tonight because the race time was 1 hour 1 and 26 compared to Long Beach was a little bit longer than that. So we're about half an hour away from the end of the broadcast window, so stick with us, folks. Plenty to come tonight. An Australian Open update not too far away either. Tom Heyman in here as the race winner, but before I get to him, Lassif Leonard, I want to go back to you. Every time Tommy and Rainer, there was a move there that changed the position order of the pair of them. So Tommy was leading and then Rainer was leading and vice versa. That invited you guys back in. But they always found a way to creep maybe 2 or 3 car lengths clear, 0.8, 0.9 of a second clear. they seemed to have an edge right from the outset tonight. What was the secret to trying to maintain third and hold yourself at bay from your own battle, because you had Cameron Veacock, Cameron Jones, and a couple of others breathing down your neck as well? It was a pressure cooker tonight.
Oh, it was pressure cooker, and with this kind of caliber of drivers that we have in the top 10 at least, it's never going to be anyone's game anymore. You just got to really focus and get the job done. But at the end of the day, after last week's disaster, I thought, just getting on the podium will give me a bit of a boost of confidence. And plus, after getting my my son on the podium, I cannot not get on the podium this week. So that was definitely the goal.
Exactly. Barber Motorsport Park, is it a preferred circuit for you compared, like when you look at the calendar? Is this one of the ones that you highlighted as, yes, I'm going to have a good run here?
Yeah, I like these type of tracks. I mean, next week's going to be interesting too, because it's kind of similar in a way. So yeah, these kind of tracks, I enjoy it. It's challenging, but once you get the setup dialed in nicely, it just works well.
Yeah, indeed it does. Stick with me, Lassif. I'll come back to you in just a moment. I'm going to quickly skip away because I haven't had a chance to do this yet tonight before we get Tommy Heyman in for a chat. Serena Williams threw in straight sets against Simona Halep in the women's singles quarterfinal at the Australian Open tonight while we've been on air, 6-3, 6-3. Novak Djokovic and Alexander Zverev running in the middle of a first set tiebreaker at the moment, 6-all and 6-all on the tiebreaker as well. So the men's singles quarterfinal is something you can go and turn your attention to as soon as we're done here, but stick with us in the meantime. Tommy Heyman, let's bring in the race winner here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. What a performance this was, flying the flag for the New South Welshmen and for the Novocastrians as well. You've got to be bloody delighted with that, Tommy, and I say that for two reasons. One, you missed out on last week, so you're already giving everybody ahead of your head start. Yes, I understand there's drop rounds and everything else, but as we've already found out from David Kirby tonight, that doesn't always work when you're planning to have drop rounds, because you end up having a rubbish run elsewhere, and that cancels everything out. But two, you've just hit the ground running. Pole position, you missed out on the fastest lap by 100th of a second, but right place, right time. You were the first to pit last in the run to the checkered flag, to use an expression that Nick Fodiatis uses for the Gentlemen's Sim Racing Club. The first to pit last. The undercut worked because you come out with a 2.5 second lead and you're able to hold on. You've got to be delighted with how tonight's played out in your first outing of the season.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome to go on pole and then go and win the race in my first race back. But it wasn't that easy. Had to fuel save quite a bit, and Rainer was a hard person to race against.
Talk me through that opening battle, because your start was brilliant, mate. You converted beautifully off the line there. I know we haven't seen any highlights of the race just now, but we must be having some issues there. But talk us through the start. Talk us through that opening stint, because you got a beautiful conversion off the line, led comfortably in the first corner, and then Rainer and you just skipped clear of the rest of the pack, as I said, with Lassif, 2-3 car lengths, maybe as many as 5 or 6, but it wasn't much, but it was enough to keep those guys at bay. And then you just immersed yourselves in a cracking scrap. There was hardly a coat of varnish between you for the entire battle, and hardly a touch the whole way. It was intense to watch. I can only imagine it was intense to be a part of as well.
Yeah, very intense to be a part of. In the first stint, I was sort of focused on saving tyres, saving fuel. Once Rainer got past me, I sort of converted that to just keeping up with him a bit and just following him, making sure I save fuel as well, and then sort of helped me later in the race.
It's got to give you a little bit of confidence when it comes to those hard-fought races like tonight, that you can mix it with these guys, but B, there's an enormous amount of respect being shown because, as I said, there was one touch that we saw between you two over 40 laps.
Yeah, it's really close racing, and there's a lot of respect given. It's really great racing, to be honest.
At this point in time, I'll just say hello to your mother and father, Jamie and Paul, because Jamie's lighting up our comments section, tagging everyone in so that they can listen to your post-race interview. It's a proud family moment in the Heyman household tonight. They'll be celebrating. Don't worry about that. There'll probably be a glass of Sherbets for her and a beer for the old boy. They'll be sitting back and lapping this up. But let's talk about the decision to pit early in that second stint, because it became evident about lap 22, 23 that we were destined for green flag pit stops. Had we had safety car pit stops all like we did first time around, all the strategy goes out the window. What was the decision behind pitting when you did? Because you were first, so you were the catalyst for what was to come. You had, I think it was Cameron Veacock follow you in. I might be wrong on that, but one of the top 5 followed you in. Everyone else kept going round. And you essentially were on the undercut. Was it a fuel and tyre decision, or was it strictly tyres were gone, you needed to top up?
Well, it was basically tyres were gone. I needed to top up. I actually had to react to Rayner. He pitted before me. So, yeah, I had to make sure I could cover him off. I knew he probably would have had new tyres.
And to come out with a 2.5 second lead as well, Tommy. Like, I mean, it just goes to show that one lap, it's an enormous amount of difference.
Yeah, I pushed it into the pits quite hard, probably a bit too hard, almost hit the wall. But and I was also pretty risky on how much fuel I put in. I had to fuel save quite a bit towards the end. But yeah, it worked, and I'm happy with that.
And I think when Rayner stopped, it was Bradley Vaughan that followed him in, and then Lassif kept going on, which was surprising to us. But he went on for another 5 or 6 laps and still managed to come home in third. So looking at the race, it couldn't have gone any better for you, Tom. But now pressure's on to back that performance up when we get to Oran Park, mate.
Yeah, pressure's on. We'll see.
So, you're not giving me much here. He's a man of very few words, is our Tom Heyman. But let's throw the conversation around now. Actually, I'll stay with Tommy. Where were you with regards to fuel? Because Rayner made the observation, and I noticed it here in the comm box, but didn't get a chance to say it on air. I was just looking at the timing board and trying to call the battle between Rayner and Lassif, because that was on for young and old, if you'll pardon the expression. But when you look at the closing stage of the race there, were you a little bit tight on fuel in the end, and was that the difference, that you took on less fuel in that last pit stop?
Yeah, I was very tight on fuel. I was fuel saving for the last 8 or 9 laps. Once I think Rayner might have made a little mistake, I was pretty comfortable from there on in. I just sort of focused on keeping that speed, and yeah.
And that's all it comes back to, Rayner. If you'd have taken slightly less fuel, you might not have been 2.5 seconds behind Tom once that pit cycle had played out. Obviously, mistake aside, that pit window proved to be a pivotal point of the race.
Yeah, I knew that would decide the race. I knew he was pretty close to me when he did pit. I wasn't sure how fast he would be on his outlap, so I had to make sure I pushed as hard as I could and made sure I pulled a gap as hard as I could.
Well, Tommy, thank you for answering that, but I was actually trying to get Rayner back into the conversation. What did you think of all that, Rayner?
Yeah, well, I came across a couple cars. One of them let me by, which was nice of them. But the tyres on my car anyway took about a lap to heat up, and I just wanted to be safe on fuel. So I wasn't sure what Tommy had done with tyres in the first or second stop. So I thought maybe he put tyres on in the first one. But yeah, so.
Tom, I'm gonna stretch the conversation out here a little bit, because we've got so many people tuning in to have a listen to your dulcet tones. So help me out here. The manufacturer selection. Some people will say that it doesn't matter which one of these taxis you drive, which one of these silhouettes you get behind, they're both the same. And other people will disagree. Where do you sit, and why'd you go with the Ford? Obviously, to put them on top tonight in a field dominated by Holdens.
Oh, I've always supported Ford back when Lanzi was racing, so it's sort of been a childhood sort of car I've supported. So yeah, it's been my favourite car for a while now.
So am I right in assuming that Rayner and Lassif, it's decisions based on not necessarily the manufacturer that's going to give you the best performance, but the manufacturer you support in the real world? Is that right?
Well, I've driven the Holden. I actually went 2 tenths faster in practice at Barber in the Holden, but I would never drive a Holden.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it was just the first car out of the 2 that I bought, so I just stuck with it. Yeah.
Fair enough. And if it works, don't fix what isn't broken, as they say. the numbers tonight, boys, in amongst what we have, 37 cars start the race, not 37 finish, obviously, but let's go back, let's rewind all the way back to qualifying. Tommy, you obviously, and in fact the three of you, didn't have too much bad luck in terms of getting a clean lap. There were a couple of people, Matt Davis mentioned it at the top of the broadcast, that found it difficult to get a clean lap tonight. How difficult is it when you've got everyone out there, all guns blazing, all over the track, not necessarily in a tight bunch like you are at the start of the race, to get a clean lap in qualifying? And did you have any trouble in the early stages of qualifying tonight?
Well, for me, it was a later part of the qualifying that I struggled to get clear track. I put in my times quite early on, and but I got stuck behind a couple of cars that ruined a couple of my decent laps. But that's qualifying for you when you got 30 odd cars on track on a small track like this. It's not going to be easy. But there's hardly anything between me and Tommy Heyman. I mean, 0.022 between us two.
Exactly, but an inch is as good as a mile, and I'm sure Tommy will agree with me on that. What about you, Rainer? Did you have any issues with traffic in qualifying? We'll get to the race in a moment.
Yeah, I didn't really have any issues. Track was pretty clear for me, but about 30 minutes into the session, I went to go have some dinner. But yeah, the track was heating up a bit towards the end of the session, so I don't think anyone was going to go faster there.
I'm sure, Tom, as the pole sitter, you're not going to disagree with anything the boys have just said. You got a clean run, you got pole position, you're okay. Let's turn our attention to next week. Oran Park, I mean, the Barber Motorsport Park circuit, 3.83 kilometres. Next week, Oran Park, 2.62 kilometres. Laps come and go in about 65 seconds. How critical is qualifying going to be? Because we know overtaking opportunities there are limited as well. Tom?
Yeah. Qualifying will be very important there. Oran Park's not necessarily a favourite track of mine, but
well, to be fair, you were probably still in nappies the last time we got to go racing there, Tom.
Yeah, yeah.
In the real world.
Yeah.
Lassif, as someone that's an experienced campaigner here, obviously qualifying next week's going to be critical, but the hard part's going to be getting a clean lap when the field is as big as it is.
Yeah, 100%. It's another small track, and it's going to be difficult to get a clean lap in with this many cars on track. So let's hope for a decent quali.
Rainer, what are your observations going into that, mate?
I'll just send it. As I said earlier, I probably won't get much preparation in, but I'll do some practice on the Monday night. But yeah, it's even smaller than this one. I think 15 seconds a lap shorter. So yeah.
Somewhere in that vicinity. I'll get to Lassif and Tom in just a moment with regards to next week. Let's just go back to the race. Obviously, the fact that we had the safety car as early as we did, two of them in the first 12 laps, that kind of made navigating your way through lap traffic an issue that you only had to deal with in the very latter stages of the race. But it seemed as though lap traffic didn't really impede you, Tommy. But what about you, Lassif?
Sorry, mate, I missed that question.
Lap traffic, did you have any issues with that in the latter stages of the race there? Of course, it wasn't an issue in the first half because the safety car kept coming out onto the circuit, but in the closing stages, when the field was spread out, did you have any issues?
No, because I decided to pit a bit later for the second stop, and as I was getting close to the lap traffic, I decided to pit, and I was running out of fuel anyway, so so that didn't really play a part for me, but I was hoping it would play a part for the other two, but obviously that didn't either. So.
Actually, on that subject, you must be incredibly happy with your fuel mileage, Lassif, because that second round of pit stops for you, I think there was 21 laps to your second stint. Incredible fuel mileage.
Yeah, I had a decent fuel mileage. But I used up my tires, so I had to go a little bit easier on the second stint, after the second stint. So it was a bit crucial to keep the laps in the 24s and still keep up with these guys.
Okay, we know that Rainer's not going to get much of a chance to get ready for Oran Park next week because his focus turns to the real world. We know Tommy Heyman's announcing some real world plans on his socials soon, which I've already told people to keep an eye out for, Tommy. But let's focus on the sim world for the moment. How much preparation goes into Oran Park for you when you've openly admitted it's not a circuit that you view favourably compared to obviously where you've won tonight, Barber. There's obviously a little bit of pressure on you going into next week to try and repeat what you've served up here. But obviously, given that it's a circuit that you're not terribly in love with, how much work goes into making sure that you're on the pace on the money next week?
There won't be much work going. I'll obviously try and do a bit of testing on the weekend, but a lot of other stuff going on at the minute, so probably won't get much done through the week.
And of course, I hope that part of your weekend ritual is tuning in and making sure your friends are going all right up here at the Ipswich Kart Club. The karting championships get underway. You must be disappointed not to be on the track here.
Yeah, I am disappointed not to be up there, but a few bigger opportunities to come up, and it'll be fun.
Good stuff. We won't tease that too much because we don't want to ruin the big reveal on your socials. So keep an eye out for all of that, ladies and gentlemen. Lysif, what about you, mates? Official races or just open testing? What's the plan of attack for you as regards to getting ready for Oran Park?
Well, the good thing this season is that we got our races at the end of a week of official races, so I actually get to do a few official races on the same track. So that'll be my testing ground, to be honest. Trying to get as many laps as I can in and work on the setup from tomorrow onwards. So we don't have anyone getting us a setup, so I usually set up the car for the entire team who's doing the entire NTS series. So I've got a bit of work cut out for me this week.
How I'm sure we'll have a look at the championship points shortly because they will probably be up on the screen before the end of the broadcast. But who's the bigger threat to you at the moment, Lysif, in terms of retaining that number one that rides so nicely on your car at the moment? Who's the bigger threat, Rainer or Tom?
Oh, to be honest, there's more guys than just Rainer and Tom. There's a few guys below us.
I was hoping you'd say that.
There's about 10 guys battling for that. So it's not over until the last round is done, I guess. Especially with the 2 drop rounds as well. So it's not going to be.
Well, that's true too, and obviously further proof of there being more than these 2 that are in the chat room with us at the moment. Cameron Jones, last week's winner, he come unstuck tonight, clouded the wall, but still come back to finish in 9th. Sean McNamara hasn't scored a win yet. Bradley Vaughan and Cameron Veacock are going to be up there, obviously Robert Crisdale as well. So, and of course, from a team standpoint, obviously disappointing for Timmy Mulford not to get off the line tonight, but also Alex Court could only manage 10th. So 2 of the cars in the top 10, but the team, would you be happy with how things are sitting at the moment, or are you looking at next week thinking this is the week where we really need to step it up?
Oh, I think Mulford got to be unlucky there, and Alex got some work to do as well. So we'll be working on it together as a team over the few days. Try and get them all up to speed and get them all up to the front. For
sure. Tom, when you look at the field, given that you've just come in and wiped the plate clean nicely, who do you look at as the threat at the moment, outside your own team, of course? Who do you look at as the threat tonight, or going forward, I should say?
Obviously, like Laz said, there's like 10 or so guys that are just as quick as each other. In qualifying, it was very close, and yeah, a lot of people are a threat to take out the championship.
Rainer, same question. Who do you see as the open threat here, mate? So outside your team, outside Lysif and Tommy, who should we be watching going forward, mate?
Well, it's a long season. It's anyone in this game at the moment. But Cameron Jones, he didn't have the best round today. He's definitely one of the big threats.
They're all playing the tactical line at the moment. They're not giving away too much to these boys, but we appreciate them coming in to have a chat to us post race here. Now. Rainer's had a chance to thank some sponsors and supporters. I should open the floor to Lysif and Tommy to do the same. I'll start with you, Lysif.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Just like to thank Simship Broadcasting, Nationwide Tracking System, Goody Auto Care Warana, Dragon RC, DSL Building Services, Brucey Australia, VR Covers, Cast for Hope, Racing for Autism Australia, and Blue Stampede Labour Hire. And big thanks to all the guys who are organizing this, and JP inclusive, and you guys as well for the broadcast. Thank you.
pleasure, as always. Tommy, long list of people to thank, mate. The floor is yours. Go for it.
Excalibur Esports, USA Batteries, Newcastle Auto Electrics, who else? Carl's Jr., BTG Electrical, Precision Motorsport, and Hunter and Coast Air Conditioning.
All right, mate. Nicely done. Where are we? 21 after 10. Recapping the results tonight. And I'll start with the tennis, of course. Novak Djokovic, Alexander Zverev, get out there and watch that as soon as we're done here. Zverev won the first 7-6 in a tiebreaker, but Djokovic has come out and just wiped the court clean in this second set. 4-love at the moment. Guaranteed that game is going to at least 4 sets if that form continues on nicely from the number one. Recapping the results tonight here as far as round 2 of our coverage of the NTS SuperSeries is concerned. Tom Heyman getting the job done from Lassif Leonard, Rainer Costello, Cameron Veacock, Robert Crisdale, the top 5. 3 Fords, 2 Holdens in the top 5, but look at the bottom half of the 10. The line really cleaned up there. 7 Holdens in the top 10 in the end. Vaughan, McNamara, Caldwell, Jones, and Court made up the top 10 tonight. I'll let those results keep on filing on through there for you. We should hopefully have some championship points before we get going. Of course, massive thanks to Goodyear Auto Care Rarana for their support of the Barber 150 tonight. In the end, we had, 30 cars taking the checkered flag, or 31, in fact, taking the checkered flag, with 7 retirements, I should say, there. And so that's, no, my apologies, 30 finishes, 7 retirements, and, of course, the safety car. I always get caught out by that. 299. For Rainer Costello, he's got a 10-point lead in the championship. He's 10 clear of last week's winner, Cameron Jones. Not too bad in the greater scheme of things, considering that Jones won last week and then slipped down to as low as, I think it was 9th in the end this week. 288 for Cameron Veacock. He sits third. Lassif Leonard, 282. 277 for Craig Schultz. 272 for Jacob Brewer. So all these names, there were a few here tonight that's in this top 10 here that didn't feature in the full outcome in the top 5, top 10 even tonight. Jacob Brewer, 272. Alan Dawson, 265. 254 for Matt Davis. And then, of course, Robert Crisdale and Chris Ireland made up the top 10 there. Of course, Tommy will be well down the order, having only competed in this round. Sam Katakazina sitting up there in 18th, I notice. Alex Court, 16th. Lindsay Hobbs there in 14th as well. So all guys that will be looking to make their mark going forward in the championship. In fact, Matt Davis took us for a hot lap at the start of the night here, and he said he was hoping to move forward from position 19. He did that. He got up to 15th in the end. And, not a bad night out. Fair attrition rate for this round of the series, but credit to Lindsay Hobbs, David Leslie, and Ben Morris, all laps down on the pack, but still soldiered on and made it through to the checkered flag. In fact, I think it was 25 cars ended on the lead lap there in the end. JP, I'm hoping that things are a little bit better at your end. We'll bring you back in here for the moment just to get a couple of closing thoughts from you, because that was a cracking night of racing. It sets us up well for the rest of the series. I think Oran Park will be an interesting point of the championship, given that it's a tight circuit, it's a short circuit. There'll be a lot of traffic around. It could be a very interesting 59 laps, I think it is, we've got there next Tuesday night. But 2 different winners to start the season, 1 for Holden, 1 for Ford. Can't ask for much more than that.
Yeah, look, 100% there, Zach. Next week's going to be a real interesting round. Very challenging track, short track. The drivers aren't going to have a lot of racing room, so they're going to have to get out there and capitalise.
All right, I'm still having issues hearing you. I'm hoping that's coming through at home, but thanks for that, JP. Appreciate that as always. That's it. Been a great night. Been a great race. Tom Heyman getting the job done. Round 2 of the NTS V8 SuperSeries for you. A huge thanks to the people that make it possible for us to do what we do. Of course, Simshed Broadcasting, track cams for Gourmet, for obviously all the cameras coming for you from Barber Motorsport Park. Of course, a huge thanks to Goodyear Auto Care Rarana for their support of this round of the championship as well. and our major sponsor, Nationwide Tracking Systems, along with their co-naming rights sponsors, Racecraft Simulations and Blue Stampede Labour Hire. As far as SimShed Broadcasting is concerned, plenty of motorsport coming up there for the rest of the week. There's the championship schedule for you. Tomorrow night, the boys are back. Matt and Aidan will be in the commentary box for you to bring you all the action from the Goodyear Autocare Rarana V8 T2 E-Series. Barber Motorsport Park, the venue, 26 laps, the journey of that race. Next week, we turn our attention to Oran Park. We'll be back with you Tuesday, February 23, 8:30 Eastern Daylight Time. Looking forward to that. I've kept Tommy Heyman up well past his bedtime, but we'll do it again next week if he wins. Don't worry about that. Of course, the Nationwide Series on the Tuesday night, Nationwide Tracking Systems, the top tier, the second tier for Goodyear Autocare Rarana Wednesday night. And of course, SimShed Broadcasting continues with the AMS car, the ANS cars, the Daytona 500 broadcast was absolutely fantastic the other day. Really good stuff there. And, of course, Friday night, they also bring you some Gentlemen Sim Racing Club action as well. Join me for that. Of course, we broadcast 4 nights a week, but JP does it for us on Friday nights specifically. We'll have our Freaky Friday race first up from 7:30 Eastern Daylight Time, or 7:45. It gets underway, so the broadcast from 7:40. And then, of course, the Indy cars, they head to the Las Vegas Speedway for a night race, and we're looking forward to that. That'll be following Freaky Friday, so that'll be around 8:45, the broadcast start for that race. Looking forward to it immensely. Hope you've enjoyed it tonight. It was Tommy Heyman from Lassif Leonage and Rainer Costello in a thriller from Barber Motorsports Park. It fizzled out towards the end because the safety car kept it nice and tight there for the opening 15 laps, and then the battle for first, second, third, fourth, and fifth really escalated right up until everyone played strategy there with the pit stops at the back end of proceedings, of course. But in the end, it was Tom Heyman with the overcut compared to Rainer's undercut that got the job done, even though Lassif's really long overcut didn't pay dividends in the end. He still came home with second, and Rainer there with third. So 2 different winners to start the season. Doesn't get much better than that. I hope you've enjoyed the broadcast. On behalf of JP and the team, I'm Zach Caban. Thanks so much for your company. Look forward to doing it all again, same time, same place next week. And, of course, the boys will see you tomorrow night for the Goodyear Autocare Rarana T2 series, and I'll see you Friday night for more action here on SimShed Broadcasting. Until then, have a great night, everybody. Bye for now.